Joe Rogan Experience.
Train my day. It was always like at the store, they're like, Cat was here last night. I'm like, fuck. It was always tip of the night.
Right. I would see you and not be able to get to you. Comedy is small, but only if you're mediocre. It's big. It's a vast, vast place.
It's vast and it's also small because there's so few of us. And worldwide, we were talking about this the other day. There's maybe 500 of us on the planet. You know, you got to be real generous and say 500 because it's really probably about 250.
Right.
Like legit comics. Guys you want to hang out with. Guys who are fun. Guys who
your numbers going down.
Your numbers going down.
Your numbers going down.
Guys you'd recommend, leave your house, get a babysitter. Numbers going down. It's not a lot of people. Right. Think about the billions and billions of people on the planet. There's a smidgen of us.
Well, as children, we all like to talk with ease. So the fact that later on in life, people that's amazing.
It's amazing.
Even if you look 1,000 years back.
Yeah, especially today. To just be able to talk for a living, oh my God. And that's the problem also with what we do, is that everybody can talk. So they see you talking, they're like, I can do what he's doing.
Right.
He's just up there talking.
And the better you do it, the easier it looks, which is part of the trap.
Yeah, it's part of the trap.
It looks like he doesn't think about what he says, he just says stuff. But you couldn't be as accurate.
No. And then there's hanging around with comics getting to know about shit like their electric Rolls Royces.
Right. If Satan hits me, just know I'm hitting back immediately. You're going to know about it. Yeah.
That thing is insane. Just the way the doors open up, the way the doors close when you touch the brakes. Totally silent.
For the price point, it would have to be perfect. And the whole thing is, it is. And that's what you're trying to do in any genre. Like, you're trying to find that thing that is flawless in that genre.
Right.
That's it.
That's the role. Never happens.
Well, because it's important to you that you be grounded in the important ways. So I can see you. I've had 4.
I'm not opposed to it. It's just the idea of it to me is like, don't do that. For me, you know, I'm always like, get away from that.
Right.
Muscle car.
Well, see, you see what I mean? Yeah, because we live vicariously through these things, and it's been that way for all of humankind. I'm saying it was still like that for the Roman and his chariot. That's how he felt. Like that's how horsemen feel about that ride. You know, like transportation and people.
Yeah, that's really the only object that I'm really into. Like I'm into vehicles. I'm into mechanical vehicles. Right. There's like something about mechanical vehicles that just speak to me. I love them. I love looking at them. I love sitting in them. Driving them. It's just like, it's one of the things that people say, like, money can't buy you happiness. That's definitely true. If you're fucked up, you're not going to get happier if you get rich. But if you're already reasonably happy and you can afford a nice muscle car, god damn, you'll feel happier. You will feel happier.
But every time. So what I'm saying is, when I got the 67 Chevy Camaro, I needed no other cars. I was complete. When I got the Grand National, you couldn't tell me anything. There was nothing on the highway that was of my ilk. But I've felt that way 12, 13 times. That's what makes it real love.
Yeah, they give you real joy every time you drive.
And you feel like that character in that movie. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you drive a 1970 Chevelle, you feel like John Wick.
Yeah, it's a sacred place. There's music there. There's recklessness, but there's safety.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it gets to the essence of a being.
And I think it's a thing that won't exist 100 years from now. I think automated driving will be mandatory. I really do. I think we're about 100 years away. 100 years away from no personal automobiles. No control of your vehicle. We're going to stop all crashes. We can stop all crashes and all highway deaths. Come on, Kat. Won't you contribute and give up all your rights to drive? We're going to stop all death.
Yeah, it's not, but understand that all of these things have financial benefits, and then they use those perks you just mentioned to get you in. But I believe that it'll be mandatory. But for practical reasons, like this thing where the police want you and they have to chase you and you may get away, those days are done.
They're just going to shut your car off. Yeah.
Your car is going to do what they tell it to do. Yeah. Just get behind this patrol car and follow us to the station.
There's speculation that they've had that for a long time. There was that famous journalist, Michael Hastings, what was his name? There's this journalist. I don't know if you know this story. It's pretty crazy. This guy went to Afghanistan. To Afghanistan with the troops, and he was only supposed to be there writing a Rolling Stone article about this general for a very short amount of time. But then there was a volcano in Iceland, and the volcano in Iceland stopped air travel. So this journalist from the Rolling Stone was embedded in this troop, and they started talking shit. And he started reporting the shit that they were talking, including disparaging comments that the general had said about Obama. So the general gets back. He has to retire. He has to, it's Rolling Stone exposed. It's a big deal because everybody loves his general. So he retires, and this Michael Hastings guy is on the top. And he's terrified. He's telling people, if I committed suicide, I did not kill myself. People are threatening my life. And then he's going down La Brea, and his car is going like 120 miles an hour and just slams into a tree and explodes. And there's a video footage of it. This dude is just flying. Look at that, flying down the street. It's a tree, and the car explodes. And they asked security experts at that time. I think it was like 2005, 2005. Is it possible to control a vehicle remotely? I said, does your vehicle have a computer? If your vehicle has a computer, they can control it. Period. There's a way.
And they know that.
And they've been doing that for, this is 2010. So this is 14 fucking years ago.
Easy peasy.
They could do that then. What can they do now? Let's just shut your fucking car right off.
I'm sorry. So I think the accident was 2013.
Oh. Well, how was the article in 2010 if the accident's in 2013?
Well, the article came out first and exposed McChrystal.
Oh, the Rolling Stone article. I thought you meant the article on the accident.
If you actually do reading about Tesla, see, that's the thing, Joe. That's why I love history so much, because once you find out that this world is a circle, you can never get lost. Like, you can look at certain things and it'll tell you what's going to happen later, like with amazing accuracy. Like, that's how I knew that things like what you showed me with Hastings, that those were real things.
Yeah.
It's not.
They've always been real.
Everybody who has ever been killed in one of those ways, there was a financial benefit to it. It was obvious. It was easy. You know where it came from. It's just that they do a good job. But how is that difficult if that's your job? Like, they do this. They do this really well. They do it worldwide.
Also, this guy fucked with the worst person you could fuck with. A high-ranking, beloved general who's in charge of trained killers who love him. And you don't think he could put one of those dudes on you with a coffee meeting? Just have a sit down at Starbucks with no phones on you? And let me explain what's going on?
A shadow government is no more difficult than a government.
Yeah. And so, not only that, they don't have to get elected. It's even better. Even nicer. They stay for a long time. Think about J. Edgar Hoover. How long did that motherfucker stay in power for? He was running the FBI wearing a dress for like 30 years.
Because of what you just discussed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like there are that's why I can speak with impunity about the Illuminati, because I know who you would have to be in order for what I'm saying to bother you, number one.
Right.
Number two, I know your big secret. I know that you're not the Illuminati. I am. So you can't be illuminated. You're too dark. But the difficulty is getting people to believe something that they don't want to believe. And in each of these cases, this is where the money is. If you're just a capitalist, it is find something, establish a value for it, and make sure that that includes your profit, and make sure people really want it.
Right.
It's very fundamental.
Also, if you're running corporations and you're making billions of dollars, you're going to get bored. What's the ultimate? The ultimate game is to run the whole world. You know what the ultimate game is, Cat? Overpopulation. It's an overpopulation. Right? And we're gonna be able to mitigate that with vaccines. We're gonna be able to mitigate that with healthcare. Right. We're gonna figure that out. We're gonna get rid of a bunch of people.
We used to be able to do it with neglect, and it was called nature's way. You know, like whatever was ailing you, it wasn't ailing everybody in the world. The Chinese didn't have it because they had 6,000 herbs 6,000 years ago and knew what each one did. And, you know,
people are very resistant to that, and they don't realize that almost all pharmaceutical drugs come from plants.
You can't be against the original.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's government propaganda working on you. That's like remember when they had Marinol, when they were making weed illegal, and the people that were going through cancer and their doctors prescribed them weed for chemotherapy, so they gave them Marinol. Do you remember that shit? It's like a synthetic version of weed that's terrible.
But terrible is subjective to nothing. So they have this oil-like cannabis that is for people having seizures.
Right.
And it's the only thing that will stop us.
That's incredible.
But here's the thing. The fact that there is a God is the biggest conversation worldwide. The truth of the matter is, there is more reason for you to believe there is a God than there is not. Like the way that things interact. Like if we're just talking about marijuana or alcohol or whatever that is, you have to understand that this thing serves no other purpose than to bring pleasure to this small group of beings.
Right.
And the fact that it already was set up to do that, the fact that it was already set up on this planet for there to be medicines for us to find and to utilize. And you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's not like, oh, yeah, so he made a cow. No, to make a cow, it means you had to also have made grass. And it means you would have had to have invented a whole new eating system for this animal, which was cud. And that means you would then have to have given him 3 stomachs to be able to, and you would have to have known that he was going to then emit a gas that was going to be necessary on the planet. Like none of these things
fertilizer
are right. The fact that
Seeds.
Everything goes together is how you know.
It's pretty wild. And every time we step in and fuck with it, it goes haywire.
Right.
Every time human beings do it.
Predictably haywire. Right.
Haywire.
Right, but that's part of the benefits of free will.
Mm-hmm.
Is you really can jump into a volcano, dude.
Yeah. Haywire.
You really can.
I mean, think about what we've done to wildlife. The craziest thing in this country, especially right here, is pigs. Bro, wild pigs are everywhere, and there's so many of them. I went to a friend of mine's farm, it's like a ranch, to hunt wild pigs, and you just hear them like Lord of the Rings characters in the bushes. And there's 150 of them near you, 250 of them, thousands on the ranch. They're all over the place, and they have 3 litters a year. And they start having litters when they're 6 months old. They just pump out piglets. Let's go.
You can tell they're not delicious.
They are delicious.
Oh, well, then here we go. Then we
They're
don't really have
delicious.
we don't really have a problem then,
Right.
do we?
No, we have a we need to eat pigs problem.
No, we need to be sending this off somewhere
Yeah.
to someone who does.
Well, definitely we should. That would be an easy way to solve a lot of hunger problems.
I'm saying we live in a country
Yeah.
where we're complaining about food sources.
It's a good point.
These chickens are pecking us to death. They're everywhere. I can't eat and sleep. Yeah, but they're delicious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Have more chickens. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we do have an overabundance problem for sure. We really do. But the pig thing is a wild one. It's hard to get them. Like they're very smart and they spread out and there's so fucking many of them. They shoot them with helicopters.
Oh yeah,
Fly
I've
over
seen
them.
it. Right.
I've been invited 3 times since I moved here to go shoot pigs out of a helicopter.
But that's part of the reason that you came to Texas.
The freedom, for sure.
Texas is a place of great adventure.
Yeah.
And people who believe in that.
Yeah.
Right. It's really God's country in the right places.
It is in the right places. I think you're going to have annoying people everywhere you go in this world. But in general, I think the people here overall are nicer, they're friendlier, and they're not captured. They're not captured by the ether of Hollywood. That they haven't been sucked into the vortex of ideological thinking. Just weirdness of that town. So when you escape that and just be around regular people, you're like, oh, people are all right. I've just been in an insane asylum. You're looking for a girlfriend. Like you have to be in a place where you're around good people, like normal people. That's better for you.
You're not trying to say that people that happen to live there are not nice people.
There's a lot of nice people there.
Here's the thing. Hopefully we can agree that the problem is with extremes.
Yes.
Extreme anything.
Yeah.
Extreme left is as vicious and as far right.
Yep.
It's, the middleness of it all that makes America great. And
For
Texas has been front and center of that forever.
I think a big part of it, though, is how much does your government control you? Even when things don't even make sense. Like in California, they made flavored vapes illegal. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, strawberry mist is our number 1
That was
problem.
fine, but they let it also hurt black people in that it counted menthol as a flavor and hurt them.
So you can't sell menthol cigarettes in California.
Right. They have their own cigarettes. They
Why?
have non-menthol.
Why do black people like menthol so much? What's that about? It's a totally different type of cigarette. No.
This is very racist, this
Is it?
conversation. Even though neither of us go
Just
figure.
talking about a type of
Just
cigarette that
us
people
saying,
enjoy?
why do black people like Newport so much? And a black
Menthol
black
cigarettes.
person actually getting ready to answer this. Oh, it's terrible. All ends.
I don't think it is.
Well, I don't think it is either because we have a
It's like if you start asking me about spaghetti, I'm not going to get offended. You start asking me about Italian food and why are Italian people so loud? I'm not going to get
How many
offended.
people have ever died of pasta-related illnesses?
A lot, Joe. A lot of fatsos out there kicking the bucket, bro.
That's not because of
That's
pasta.
an overabundance of carbohydrates.
They were going to be fat wherever they lived, sir.
Maybe. That's an
Could be great
overindulgence
bread eaters and
delicious high
Uzbekistan.
carbohydrate food. They couldn't stop it. People are addicted to food like they're addicted to anything. If there's a thing that I could ever be addicted to, it's that.
right. That's all of us, though.
All of us.
And what a blessing.
Yeah. We have so much.
Starving people are addicted to anything, and they don't have food-related illnesses.
Exactly.
But back to where we were.
Yeah.
You were
The
asking
left
me about
versus the right.
the menthol cigarettes.
Oh, that's right.
And the answer is we value strength in product. So there's this whole thing with liquor and malt liquor and the difference between the two, and one is richer and stronger.
The more potent version.
Right. And as a people, we tend to go with those products.
Things that are stronger. That makes sense.
Right. Like before things were called concentrate.
Yeah.
That's what we appreciate.
That makes sense.
Concentrate. And the fact that menthol is a natural thing. So
right.
Anybody who is from the South knows about mint plants.
And menthol used as a skincare product, injuries and shit.
Right, like you appreciate that as a flavor profile.
Right. That makes sense.
The mint juice.
It's just telling people they can't have that anymore. Who the fuck are you? That's my position.
Well, and that's a noble position, and we appreciate the fact that you represent that. But the truth of the matter is not pretty. And the truth of the matter is that most people would like to be controlled more by their government. They
make it easier. Maybe.
Most people are all for government control, as long as they don't have to discuss it.
Yeah. As long as it works in their favor, they'll give them a lot of rights. And then hopefully the next administration that's...
Rights are generally worthless at the time.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that if the government can make life easy, a lot of people have it hard, right? So if the government comes in and says, I'm going to make it easy for you, but I'm going to need certain requirements of you. I'm going to need you to have a digital ID. That digital ID will be attached to a social credit score. And we're going to give you universal basic income. You no longer have to worry about food or shelter. You'll be taken care of. And now you can pursue your dreams.
Is this the mark of the beast that you're speaking of, sir?
I think it is.
Right. That's the whole thing, is it's never been difficult at any point in history. Like we got a dude right now that's telling you front and center that I put a computer in somebody's head.
Yeah. And everybody's going, yay.
It's the greatest thing in the world. So.
Yeah.
But we understood this 15, 20, 25 years ago. We understood while watching Tron or while watching Cyborg. We understood that there was just this small line medically that needed to be crossed in order for us to be able to do these things.
Yeah.
Like if you can hook a battery up to an octopus and make it go like this, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Why? Because this is a machine that we have.
It's a biological machine.
Right. Once you understand it, you understand it.
Yeah. And you can fuck with that machine. You can boot it up. You can fucking get it stronger, get it smarter. You can do a lot of things with that machine.
This is what the Anunnaki said. This is how you know that these are not made up things from people's imagination, because everything is too factual. Like this necklace, right?
Right.
People online were like, yeah, is that Buddhist or that's this or that? It's none of that. Like I just try to find the answers to things. So
Is that a ship wheel?
I designed this because this is that thing that you see that all the Anunnaki guys that look like a wristwatch, and they always have it, and you're always trying to see what that is.
What is that?
It is a time, and it's a compass. It's a timekeeping compass.
That's what that is?
Yeah. So that's what made the carrier of great importance, because he was able to do things that were magical in nature, like go somewhere and get right back. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that thing on the wrist was a compass?
A timekeeping
compass.
Yeah. Right. So you had to believe in things that didn't exist at some point, like magnetics and distance and probabilities and
right.
That's how, like, if you were to read like thousands of books about people that knew a bunch of shit. Like you start finding out that it's not really about knowing anything. It's about where to go to get the information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so like when we look at all the ruins all around the world, like we're not seeing ruins of colleges and universities and all of that. We're seeing temples and synagogues and churches, but people don't understand that that's where that information was coming from for that period of time. When we went to these temples, they weren't in there singing and reading from a book. They were in there being taught things that they were able to go put into practice. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they were being taught art, agriculture. You know what I mean? Like they were being taught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had some very bizarre knowledge too. They had a detailed knowledge of cosmology. They had a really detailed knowledge of our solar system.
100% of the writings across the world, whoever said anything about space or the universe or what was out there, why were all of them correct, Joe? It's not even possible. Like, how did they know that Mars was the red planet, and why was it a worldwide fact?
Right.
Planetarily, that Saturn had rings, like based upon what information? Because nobody worldwide is disagreeing. Nobody's like, oh, I thought of this, or it came to me in a dream. Nobody's saying that anywhere in anybody's civilization. Everybody's civilization says this information came from the people that came from there.
Yeah.
There are no coincidences.
Well, they know that Mars used to have an atmosphere. Mars used to have an atmosphere, used to have water. Something happened to its environment.
If that's correct, then there's a guy right now saying he's getting ready to put people up there.
Yep. Exactly. Restart it all over again.
50 years ago, there was no water in our whole universe. Let them tell it. Now there's been water almost everywhere. There's water on the moon, for crying out.
Are you familiar with the Younger Dryas impact theory? Do you know what that is?
Say what it is.
Younger Dryas impact theory is a theory that Earth goes through a cycle of like comet storms every June and every November. And most of the time, nothing happens. But every now and again, we get hit. We get hit big. And they think we got hit big 11,800 plus years ago. And that had to restart civilization. And that what you're seeing from like Mesopotamia, all these people 6,000 years later, they think that is a rebuilding of civilization that was already like just whispers and stories and tales. And then they rebuilt it again thousands of years later. But if you go back to like 11,800 BC, 11,800 years ago, you're dealing with what we thought were hunter-gatherers. And now we know they weren't. Now we know they built complex stone structures. And the real speculation is they think that the people who built the pyramids built them way earlier than the conventional dating is. They think there's real evidence that shows they're 9,000, 11,000 years old. Easy.
No people built the pyramids.
No people?
No.
Who built them?
No people built the pyramids. And if you look around the world, you see certain telltale things that let you know that advanced machinery was in usage. Look, this whole thing where slaves are stronger people is a fallacy. We like to believe that slaves are stronger. Slaves are weaker because they don't eat the right food and they live a terrible life. Your slave population is not smarter and better condition unless you're enslaving the Jews.
They stopped thinking that quite a while ago. They think it was actually skilled labor because of the way they were eating. They found what their camps were, where their food was. They ate like very good food. So they think they were actually skilled labor, but also probably forced skilled labor. But that's probably not the people who built it. That's probably the people that were working on it. That's probably the people that worked in the village or in the city.
How many companies have done renovations on the White House? None of them have done enough renovation that they can claim it's their White House. So, yes, thousands of years worth of people were there. But that doesn't have anything to do with the building of it.
Who do you think built it?
Well, understand, we know enough now to understand that this was a complex. This was not.
Right.
We've been led to believe that this is how much they worshipped their dead bodies,
Right.
but the evidence doesn't show any of that.
No, it
like
doesn't.
like when you see inside, when they have those intricate carvings and paintings and stuff in gold and stuff, you have to remember this is in a windowless room, folks. There's no candle soot. There's no this. It's clearly a power plant and built specifically for that location on this planet. For
What do you think it was powered
usage. Um, the hot water springs underneath it.
by? So it was powered by the hot water springs? And to what end? How do you know all this, first of all? Is this marijuana talk?
I don't think so. This is
Where did you read this?
if you follow information about humankind, you find out that in all parts of history, people were coming to this region for their information and their knowledge and their things
Yes.
that were forbidden, and
Yep.
these were not these were the highest of human civilization. Here.
Not even comparable to anyone else.
No.
Nor since. Nor
now
since.
or yeah,
Nor since.
right.
The Great Pyramid of Giza is insane.
Right. like
It's insane.
like even Tesla says that this is where he came to get the information. But if you follow that information pathway, it leads you to this character called Thought, right? And the emerald tablets Thought, mind change. Just because you understand when this was written and terminology being used is
When was it written?
far too accurate for now. So I'm sure that
Here it is. Emerald Tablet. Also known as the Smaragdine Tablet, or the Tabula Smaragdina. Oh, I fucked that up. It's compact and cryptic Hermetic text. It was highly regarded by Islamic and European alchemists as the foundation of their art. Though attributed to the legendary Hellenistic figure Hermes Trismegistus. How do you say it, bro?
Trismegistus.
Trismegistus. The text of the Emerald Tablet first appears in a number of early medieval Arabic sources, the oldest of which dates to the late 8th or early 9th century. It was translated into Latin several times in the 12th and 13th centuries. Numerous interpretations and commentaries followed. So what does it say then? The Egyptian god Thoth. Okay, it says beginning in the 2nd century BC onwards, Greek texts attributed to Hermes, a syncretic combination of Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth, appeared in Greco-Roman Egypt. Those texts known as the Hermetica are heterogeneous collection of works that in the modern day era are commonly subdivided into two groups. The technical Hermetica, comprising of astrological, medico-botanical, alchemical, and magical writings, and the religio-philosophical Hermetica, comprising of mystical, philosophical writings. Holy shit.
Is this weed talk, Joseph?
No, this is so legit.
So legit, my man.
So this dude was probably an alien.
Dude, first of all, there are no probablys.
Yeah.
That's the benefit once you hear it or read it. Is the fact that it's given in first person, and that's not possible. The things that are being said are impossible. Enough time has passed, though, that it's not like that. But
I'm going to read that.
He literally says, hey, there's a spaceship on Earth, and this is where it is. Because if all you care about is information, right? Like that's what you start to see is when you get to everybody's civilization, Asian, Indian, African, get to the crux of their information. Nobody's disagreeing with anybody.
Right. If you figured out how the fuck they did it, if there was any logical explanation that people could have done it, I would be on board. I'd be like, okay.
But there aren't any people saying that.
Human beings it's possible if you had enough power and you had enough engineering and mathematics that you could figure out how to design and construct the pyramid.
Yes.
But then the logistical problem of getting the stones from hundreds of miles away, massive, several ton, up to 80-ton stones.
Joe,
that's crazy.
If you
500 miles away somewhere.
Even if you could do it, let me ask you this. Would you build it on sand?
I don't think it was originally sand. See, that's the thing.
Right. This was a fertile valley.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Right.
The Nile Valley.
That
was the reason
they had electric and Wi-Fi, and they had all of that.
They probably did. And that's probably where the Younger Dryas impact theory comes in.
The greatest trick is to make us believe that people back then were dumber and we're smarter.
Right.
And that whole thing is a fallacy.
Yeah, that's definitely not real.
But it's worth it for us to believe that.
I think we are the children of the survivors of some great catastrophe. I think that's why every single...
Not everybody.
What?
Not everybody. Some people.
What do you mean? Some people are the survivors?
Right.
Well, I mean, most human beings probably got wiped out in common storms. And I think we probably got... There's reports in history that they know of where human beings got down to 7,000.
Who's counting?
I think they use genetics and they backtrace and they try to find individuals that were capable of having X amount of children. I wonder how they do the calculation.
The things in Hollywood and in writing that have attracted our attention worldwide were all based on some truth. So all the stories of hobbits have been successful in all of their genres. Why? Because they existed. Like we now know that there were whole pygmy groups, and that we understand that that's what the Seven Dwarves was.
Yeah, like that island of Flores, man. They found. They literally call it a hobbit. It was like a 3-foot tall person that was covered in hair, smaller head than us, used tools.
As a preteen, I knew that Atlantis already existed, just because of how it was spoken of offhandedly.
Mm-hmm. Just that it was known
in early writings.
Yeah.
Well, not just mentioned, but mentioned offhandedly, like you would a place that's just a landmark.
Right. We landed in New York before we went to Montreal. Yeah.
We were in Austin.
Yeah.
By Dallas.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the guy that thinks that they found the spot in Africa? What is that the ring called? That Jimmy Corsetti is he's on this. This dude is an expert in this shit. And he's an expert in ancient catastrophes and the remnants and the evidence that shows that these civilizations existed and something happened. And he's focused on this one area in Africa that he believes is Atlantis. And he says it has all the hallmark characteristics, and there's all the evidence of massive water erosion surrounding the area. That at one point in time, it's very likely that this area got hit with a massive flood, and it matches all the characteristics of Atlantis. When you see it, when you see the way the concentric circles of rings, try explaining this. You're going to see it. And try explaining this through a natural phenomenon that doesn't exist anywhere around it. Right. Concentric circles that is near what used to be water and there's heavy water erosion marks all around it that indicate massive amounts of quick-flowing water in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
How are you? Only the best products here.
That's it. Look at that thing. Bro, are you fucking kidding me? That's it. The reshot structure. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Now imagine if that was this massive city of concentric circles and walls and a thriving population, and then it gets hit with this water. You can see the water erosion all over the place. The whole thing looks like it's washed out. See?
Whatever you need, I've got it.
It looks like it was washed out because it was.
Right.
Salt, I believe.
But that's
yes,
what
there's
makes
salt there. That's the other thing.
between this and the Garden of Eden location.
Goodbye.
Like these are the two of the great landmarks in human history.
Where's the Garden of Eden?
Well, when
Well,
you read the stories, right, the thing that strikes you is that it's so specific. Like it
was
says
nice
things
seeing you.
in talking about the Garden of Eden that, wait a minute, if I can't find what you're talking about, this isn't even real. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like where the Garden of Eden was, there's, I think, 4 rivers that come from it. And then it names 2 of them. Like, it's like the Nile and the Euphrates, right?
Right.
So you know 2 of them. And it's saying, you know, where the 4 meet, this is where it is. And, yeah, my whole life, I was like, this is really weird, because at one period of time, we're thinking that flood happened, so many things that have lined up from these great religious books.
Yeah.
So we can see that, no, something happened.
Something happened, and these are stories of people telling stories that have been told to them for about 1,000 years.
But this is why, right?
Yeah.
This is why they were told, and that's what that's the difference between those
How is life treating you? Have a good day.
who know the world's mysteries and conspiracy theories. Like, there's nothing to a conspiracy theorist because you're not producing what you're using. But these world mysteries, like, that's harder to do. A lie is not something that people are going to repeat for generations on generations. It's being repeated like that because people have reason to believe it to be true. As you go through history, you see that those are the stories that we still talk about, but they're still valid. Like there were writings that the African Dogon tribe, like they're
From like the Sirius star system.
like they're saying very specific things.
How can I help you?
Years we're going. You guys are idiots. You don't know what you're talking about, right? Like somebody will have a fake star story.
Right.
You see?
Right.
And now we get to
See you soon.
What if we find out that we dropped off here a long ass time? The Adam and Eve story is the story of the place where they created this.
I'm sure we're the only people that think like that.
You think so? Why do you think that?
No portion of humankind's story differs.
It's all creation story.
Like if you go, that's why NASA and Space Force are not more forthcoming, because the further you get in space, the more obvious shit is. Like once you're up there and you're looking down, this shit doesn't look like there is no God. It looks like you're in the middle of somebody's workshop and they just showed you every single way that every star can be made, every single way a planet can be made,
But I mean, in our solar system, we're the best neighborhood that's ever existed. They all suck. Every other planet sucks.
We're rudimentary enough that we still require environmental health.
Right. Until you get that chip. Once you get
At
that chip,
each point, it would be like saying people that didn't learn how to ride horses. They were slow. Like, they couldn't run fast enough, so they got horses.
right.
No, it didn't have anything to do with that. Better's better.
That's really what it's going to be. Better's
Right.
better.
Right.
We're all going to integrate.
Like we would have told you 30 years ago that we wouldn't need a space force unless we went up there and found something.
I think the Space Force, the idea is that they're worried about
It's not an idea.
someone else being in space first with weapons flying around.
You mean us?
Yeah. Well, if we can do it, they can do it. That's the thing.
Who is they?
Whoever it is.
No,
China.
There's only humankind and
Yes.
alien.
Oh, I agree.
Right.
The problem is, this is what we really need. We really need this neural link to lock us all together so everybody can read everybody's mind. That's what's going to happen, and then there's going to be no more leaders. There's going to be no more governments.
You're being
There's gonna be
very
no more-
controversial right now. Okay, so look, that
Better is better.
that exists already. So just understand that the worldwide government is way smarter than we give them credit for because they have us believing they don't do nothing. But the truth is, like there's no such thing as the government is in bed with the internet. No, the internet is a government installation that they allow the world to use for free so that they could have the information willingly because you're on it.
That's what it became.
Exactly.
But I think
That's
it's
what it
just
was
the
to
progression.
become.
You think so?
Yes.
I think the progression of technology oftentimes leads itself to, like, even cell phones. At first, it was Michael Douglas walking on the beach, Wall Street, looking amazing with that brick, carrying that big brick. Look at that guy. He's got a phone, no cord. He's out on the beach. This is insane. To everybody on the phone.
But not to everybody, because those in the ham radio community and people with the CBs, they didn't feel like that was cutting edge because it really wasn't. Like
It's still cutting edge.
This
to
is-
walk around with a device. It's a leap in technology.
here's the thing: when you look at all of our inventions, that's when you know that these space encounters were real, because we only have advancement in a couple of industries in the world, and everything else is nothing. So, like the microwave that they had 30 years ago, it looks the same as the same microwave now. Why? Because it was done as a military thing. It was supposed to be a weapon, and then they found out it heats up food, and they put a door on it. And so it hasn't changed at all because invention is very difficult. And
Do you subscribe to the idea that we get back engineered?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why those leaps, we don't see those leaps in anything else, is my point. Like
Yeah.
The-
There's so
the
much
real
speculation about the creation of a bunch of different things that came out of Roswell. Fiber optics.
right, but remember,
Yeah.
20 years ago, 15 years ago, this is crazy talk.
Crazy talk,
But
yeah. Now
but
New
it's
York
not.
Times.
Like, it's at the point at this point, like Area 51 would have to be doing something.
They were definitely.
And nobody's telling a differing story as to what it is.
Right.
Like, people have great imaginations all through history. They could make up something. The only damning information is if you read 3,000 accounts of these entities and realize, wait a minute, why is everybody describing the same couple of things? Like, there's no outliers. Like,
There's like 3 different things they describe. Yeah, they said that the documented 8 to 12.
We're not talking about English speaking people. We're talking about worldwide. Right?
Worldwide.
Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what is striking.
Indigenous people in Australia drew them. Yeah.
Right. Nobody's saying anything outlandish, and that's what you get to when you go religiously. Or
Well, the alien thing is a bit of a religion too. They don't want to believe that.
it's a necessary component.
Yeah.
If whatever religion you're a part of, at some point it says
You were contacted.
that there was a fight in heaven, and you know
Yeah.
this happened and that happened.
Yep. Every
And-
single one of them.
Everyone, without nobody's telling a different story. Everybody's telling the same stories.
Yeah.
Like that's how you know that vagina and gold are universal things, because in everybody's story, none of these otherworldly entities had any interest in anything other than women,
And gold.
right? Pussy or gold. Like because and you understand that now when you start learning about what's in space, because you can see that any element or any commodity that we sell here is abundant in space, like trash. They found one that was worth all the money. 770 trillion. It was another
Whatever it
number.
is.
Some
crazy number.
Right.
Wow. If they know that there's spots in space that have abundant minerals that are very valuable, and the thing about the Sumerian story, the Sumerian tech story, realized when everyone was a billionaire on this earth, everyone would be a billionaire.
But
Every person would earn several $billion.
So it sounds jokey, right? But understand, somebody got this country. Like they
Right.
broke this up into several worldwide contracts. Like
$10,000 trillion.
it's just there.
But here's the thing: if you got that much gold, is gold valuable anymore? Because one of the things about gold is that there's not that much of it. If you look at, you ever seen the number of gold on Earth?
That's not necessary in capitalism. They showed us that with diamonds.
That's true. They can hide.
It is about the perception of things, and if I buy up all of something, it is rare immediately,
Right.
just because I have control of all of it.
Right.
And that is worth killing Tesla. And that's why the people are still in business in Hollywood, because everything's a commodity.
Did you ever read? You ever heard of Zeeroogee Gaming? Zeeroogee Gaming was a biblical scholar who he deciphered the Sumerian texts, and he was like an expert in language. And when he deciphered, he might not have been a biblical scholar, might just been a language expert. Either way, he deciphered these texts and wrote these books about the real meaning behind everything they were saying. And he said that the reason why we are so fascinated with gold is that the Anunnaki literally would have us mine gold for them because they needed it to protect their atmosphere. So what they would do is take gold, which is very rare in what it does. What gold can do is you can take a little piece of gold like this big and coat this entire table. It's real weird.
Right.
You could turn it into a fine dust, and they suspended this fine dust in their atmosphere to protect them from a degrading atmosphere because they were getting global warming or whatever.
Everybody that was...
He wrote about this in the 70s.
Doesn't matter, because everybody in Egypt knew it. Like, this is where the alchemy...
Yeah, that's where it all originated.
Right.
We
Like,
don't even know what they do.
none of those people are saying, hey, I came up with this shit. They're saying...
Right, somebody gave it to us.
Somebody who came from this place here came and told us that this is how this goes and this is what this is worth.
Yeah.
Because I'm saying people that were being abused in the mines going to get the diamonds. It wasn't like that for them. It was just them getting these rocks. It's
Right.
crazy. Guys gonna pay a day's wages to gather rocks. Let's gather them. This is. But when you follow back, it's all about the information, and at the top of it, nobody's trying to claim it. Like nobody's saying,
Right. Yeah, that is wild. If imagine this, that's fucking shit. Back engineered stuff they need for us. Figure it out, sort through it. People that have alien technology, the people that do have an alien craft that they work on, what a weird reality you must live in. The whole rest of the world's got guessing, and you got this thing in front of you, like, oh, this is real. We have one.
that's how everybody in space.
Right, they must. How many of you think see shit?
I'm saying, how do you think Elon Musk really feels? Like, no, I'm saying in his head, can he still have a superhero, or is he one of them? You know, he's one of them. Like,
The richest dude in the world, and you're also a super genius. How the fuck do you stop yourself from thinking you're a superhero? That's the big question.
no, it's not like that.
No?
No, it doesn't have superhero side effects to it.
I mean, you would probably think.
The more you know, the more you know how little you know.
That's true,
So
too.
there's not a, you know what I mean? And nobody has ownership of information. That's why reading books moves civilization, because like when I say, like, you know, I read 3,000 books, people were like, yeah, right. But you know, everything in life is about the environment it was grown in, the petri dish, right? So if I told you that from the time I was 8 to the time I was 12, I never celebrated any birthdays. I never threw a birthday party. I never had a Thanksgiving or Christmas. I never trick or treated. I wasn't allowed to watch movies, and I wasn't allowed to watch TV. All I could do was read. If I told you that, then you would understand that for 8 hours a day, I got 8 hours, and I can read, and I love to read, and so I'm reading books that are 250 to 100 pages, and it takes me about an hour to read one. So,
Takes you an hour to read
I'm reading
150
8
pages?
a day. Yeah, like all I'm doing is reading, because that's what. So I'm checking out 20 books. The limit at the library is 20 books at one time. So I'm going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's my thing. Like,
So you're getting 60 books a week?
minimum. Because
Really?
yeah, because I'm reading more than that, because I still have religious books that I have to read. So understand this is pre-internet,
Right.
So understand that in reading one thing that I'm reading, right?
Right.
This one thing that I'm reading is also requiring me to have this appendix book that is the source book that it's telling me getting these things from. And so I've got 4 books open at a time just for this one book. Like, but yeah, so first, I guess between 8 and 12, I can read classics and nonfiction. So I'm saying no novels or anything like that. I'm just reading. Like, Time Life has like 1,800 of these individual books on all subjects of the world.
So you spend most of your time.
Not most, all of it.
All of your time. And then when did it
That was
pop?
my thing. Like, I was able to be in each of these stories. You follow what I'm
Right.
saying? And I was getting so much information. Like half of those, I probably had to write a 1-page report on after, you know. But yeah, that was my whole thing. And the numbers aren't even really accurate because I read more than that. Because like sometimes, sometimes I would read something and I wouldn't get it. Like there was this classic book called Little Women that I probably read it 4 times. I didn't understand it, and I knew it was a classic, but
I never read it. What's it about? You read it, James?
Some Little Women.
Yeah, I just watched an episode of Herbert.
What is the story
Well,
about?
here's the thing.
Sisters.
Yeah, right. Like 4 sisters think
Okay.
that, okay, but they have money and an incredible circumstance. But the thing was, I didn't have any sisters, so I didn't have anything to pull from, and I didn't have women in my life like that. So, yeah, a lot of things I would have to read multiple times for me to get.
Right, to try to think how they thought.
Right. Well, yeah, like even like the Three Musketeers. Like I probably read it 3 times because it was so. I read it like the first time to read it, but then the next time I had to read it again because these characters were really distinct characters, and I couldn't figure out. Wait a minute, did this happen really in history, or was somebody just as good at telling this story of but it's things like that leads you to the Knights Templar story, which leads you to seeing how things through history have remained. You know what I mean? Like all of that you get from the books.
Well, history to me is always been the most fascinating thing because you can't try and imagine eating together, listen to these stories, and just sit back and what the fuck was that like?
Which is what we create every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're creating the future's version. What the fuck is that like? This place right here freaks me out the most. Is this area, specifically this area of Texas, the hill country, is just all Native Americans forever. There's thousands of arrowheads. Bro.
Here's the thing.
I found this on this ranch.
None of those people, we say those people, none of them hit the band. That's when you understand that there's a grid. Yeah. Because nobody's holy people picked bad spots. No. Everybody understood certain things about the area long before they had X-ray machines. If you just went by that in the whole world, you start to understand the true power. The fact that certain things are based on real shit, like the Ark of the Covenant, things like a nuclear
generator or something like that. What do you think of this?
Whatever the nucleus is, that would nuclearly power something. That would have initially been things would also have been in the Ark. It would be the same thing. Something that you can't fuck with, and it's radioactive, and it's very powerful. It still has to be. That's what I'm saying. Nobody's telling any crazy stories, my man. Not globally. No. Everything.
It gets less crazy every year. 20 years ago, talking about any of this stuff was straight up nonsense. Yes. But now people are like, that's probably what disclosure actually looks like. It looks like a slow trickle information, zeitgeist, to the point where it's just more and more.
Because a lot of times they're right. A lot of times it turns out that they were right. You start to see that.
That's why when you think about what people always quote, that's why angels and devils rule. Because no one wants to believe Satan. There's a devil.
Believe in astronauts, though. Okay.
But people have always said the words.
You mean a bad and a good?
Yeah, not just a bad and good, but an actual evil, malevolent force.
No, just start with bad
Okay,
and
yes,
good.
bad.
Okay, so if we started bad and good, then we understand what must be at the extremes of that.
Right.
Nobody's telling a different story.
And then there's the concept of actual entities.
Yes.
Actual demonic entities that do exist.
Well, I'm saying your DNA is either fused or it's not. If it is, it requires a fusion.
What do you mean?
I'm saying, if they tell you that certain parts of your DNA are fused, that requires a fusion. Say that right?
I'm not sure. I see what you're saying. The structure to us in all of it does seem remarkable.
In a no mistakes type.
Yeah, and in a synchronistic sort of a way.
It flies in the face of the accidental Big Bang, nothing from nothing way of, and it always happens.
Well, that's what I think, like in the beginning there was light, and we talked about that. If you're going to describe the beginning of the universe, even if you're describing the Big Bang, which there's a lot of speculation that wasn't necessarily the beginning, that there might be a continued cycle of events happening. But if you're talking about a creation story, you would say in the beginning there was light. There was this fucking enormous amount of light. It created the entire universe. Literally.
Right.
I think.
Which is all it says. And here's like whatever they say that hell or Hades is in any of these religions worldwide, it is the perfect description of what a black hole is. A bottomless pit.
Yeah. Where time doesn't exist.
Where time does not exist, where you don't die.
And it eats stars.
Right. But it eats stars and galaxies,
Yeah.
all that, right? But we can have multiple of them. And all those still be okay.
In the center. The center of
That's the
everything.
flex.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
we're
the
fine.
flex. Right.
It's like if you live in Africa, you're going to do it blind.
What's this thing? Oh, it kills everything.
Right.
Everything what? Everything it touches.
Everything. It's going to get us eventually, but not now.
What? You mean you have two of them?
They find them floating around.
They find them.
They find them floating around.
Right.
I mean, they noticed them.
Yeah.
They noticed that they're out floating around.
Yeah.
They found one that's so fucking big. So we did this thing when we played a video of how small the Earth is in comparison to the Sun, how small the Sun is in comparison to the giant stars, and how small giant stars are into the most massive, supermassive black hole that they know currently. It's bananas.
Our perfect habitat is so perfect that anyone universally in a sense would say, ooh, location. You know?
Like the greatest real estate agent ever.
If the moon or the sun were further back, we'd
be fucked.
Yeah, or
Jupiter wasn't there.
closer, or like
Yeah.
the whole thing is, someone later saying, "Do you think Beverly Hills was this was an area they built on purpose?" Don't let me.
Just imagine if the moon was slightly smaller. Just imagine.
Look,
Imagine if the Earth was slightly further away from the sun.
they know that it's to the point where some of it might have been artificially done, and they're aware of the true
So the artificial
specifics of the
solar
moon.
system. Oh,
Right,
I've heard that
specifically.
theory. That's a wild theory.
Well, some of it's not theory. Like I was on that subject as a teenager, but as a grown person, it's when the thing happened where they hit it with the missile and it rang like a bell.
Yeah.
Like certain things are.
What was the explanation of that? Because it did have some sort of crazy, like,
The question is, who will offer an explanation?
right.
Because it wasn't like that. They didn't just do it once. Like all accounts say, it rang like a bell for hours and hours and hours.
Imagine if that's a feature for a stable planet that they put.
Well, that's how Xbox works,
Really?
you know, or PlayStation. Xbox. But I'm saying, you have your gaming system. It just requires that and your Wi-Fi nearby. And bam, you know,
Right.
make things happen. And so many of our things globally, we come by understanding that and the magnetics and dynamics and things that really work.
There's a lot of people that think that whatever we're seeing isn't just from another planet, from another dimension, that they're dimensional travelers, that they have access to places that we don't have access to. Because we're too primitive. We can't wrap our head around it. As a civilization, we haven't lost the ability to transcend the
Well, the way we look at it, we're the greatest spot in the universe. The travelers don't leave us.
Well, there's always competition. There's always going to be a greater civilization than the one previous. There's always going to be more. There's always going to be more. If people are going to innovate to the point where they're going to make spacecrafts, that means these people are competing with each other. Things, whatever they are, they must be in some sort of competition. There must be something that motivates them.
Right, but at that level, competition is healthy, and there are no unhealthy components. So, well, no, not hopefully, definitely. Once we're all building space, personal space contraptions for ourselves, we're going to push one another. It's not just we're going to all want the best one.
Yeah.
And we're going to insist that be the case, just like we do.
When I said hopefully, what I mean is that, like, hopefully they will be, like, healthy, friendly competition. That's what we're with. What's not hopeful is that they can be robotic, emotionless things that have transcended biological needs, and that they just have a function. That function is seeding intelligent life in the universe and establishing. It's like you would be a farmer and you'd go out and leave hay for the animals.
Needs are primitive.
Yeah, they are primitive, but we're always moving into some more and more complex direction technologically. That's never going to stop.
Right.
And the only thing that makes sense to me is that we're doing something because that's like what we're literally designed to do. We have all these things that sort of motivate people, and greed and lust and curiosity.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're always making better things.
Yeah.
Constantly making better things, which would lead ultimately to the creation of a higher life form, some more intelligent, emotionless being. And that's the scary thought, is that all this life out there is life that was created by biological creatures who had these desires and needs that ultimately led to them making a better version of them. And that is like the butterfly that comes out of the cocoon.
As soon as we put people in space, we became
Right. Yeah.
a lot of things are personal.
That's true. I mean, you could say you're a camper, but you really only go in a tent in your yard. You're still not a camper.
Well,
but that's what we're
I'm
doing.
saying
As far as space travel.
our guy has put a date on the Mars colonization, though, right?
Yeah, but he's also put a date on the Roadster. That Tesla Roadster's coming out. That motherfucker's never going to see the light of day. When is that car coming out?
No, because
That car is supposed to be out for years.
That's
Goddamn
that's part of being a billionaire.
Sure.
It's not worth putting out something that's not right. It doesn't matter how bad it's wanted.
Well, he actually explained that. He said it was manufacturing is insanely difficult. The way he explained it, it's, you don't consider it because people just manufacture things. Think it's normal. But he was like, the process of manufacturing, especially like a car, an electric car, insanely difficult.
He had a harder time doing that Cybertruck than he did.
Yeah.
Space stuff.
Cybertruck's hard. What's all folded steel? It's this fucking massive 7,000 plus pound folded steel truck that goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. And it looks like it's from the future. It looks like if you were
It's the
gonna watch
hottest thing on Mars.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it looks like the most futuristic car ever. Right. Yeah, but
As kids, that's what we do.
I don't know when we're going to Mars, and I don't know who the fuck's going to do that. That's a 6-month journey, and you're just hoping.
So what? Several billionaires were talked into getting into a capsule with limited air. To go a long way down.
That's a dark way to die. Just knowing
Well,
that you chose to
just
do
know, even if you're a racist hearing this, all death is dark. So
what I mean is the last moments must be horrific.
no more horrific than anyone else's.
I know. There's something about the choice of being, thousands of feet under the water.
No, it's being a billionaire.
Crushing you.
Your soul dies long before. I could have done anything. This is what I choose.
That's hilarious.
That death.
That guy could be fishing in Maui right now. With a nice cold beer, hanging out with his friends, listening to some music. Instead, he hears. He's like carbon fiber starting to crack. God damn.
It's already done at that point.
Yep,
None of
it's
that's
done.
happened.
They knew those people were dead a long time ago, which is interesting because I didn't know how sophisticated the underwater listening devices are. But they have these super sophisticated underwater listening devices everywhere to make sure that Russia will sneak up on us. Because Russia will sneak up on a motherfucker. Russia snuck up on people before.
Sir, none of that is for Russia. None of that is for Russia.
That would be the wild shit. What underwater listening devices? Because they knew the aliens were under there.
Okay, let's see if this is weed talking.
Let's go.
So, which one do we know more about? Do we know more about space, or do we know more about the ocean?
We know more about space. Yeah. Quite a bit more.
Okay, so
Yeah.
and part of that is because
The ocean's very difficult to penetrate.
at some point, it's government.
They're hiding things from us. I would hide things from people. I would definitely make it illegal for you to have a submarine. You could have a yacht. Don't get crazy. You can't go underwater. I gotta know where the fuck you are. I need to collect taxes.
Well,
If you're floating around, I could pull up.
It was a conspiracy theory at one point that you know the government got bases inside of mountains.
Right. Well, until they had to expand the boundary behind Area 51 and make Area 51 larger, they never even admitted it existed. It wasn't until the Obama administration that they actually came out and said Area 51's a real thing. We need more land. Have you ever seen the video of Bob Lazar, the guy who used to work there? Have you ever seen that guy? That's
I was
wild.
following old Bob Lazar.
What do you think? Do you think he's telling the truth?
Here's the thing, Joe. Just an opinion, but what I find fascinating is the lack of imagination
like if someone was bullshit, see evidence of it, right? Because that's the thing. If people bullshit, they kind of bullshit about everything.
Right.
Because they think they're smart enough to trick you. No one's smart enough to come up with one story only their whole life. Their whole life, they're straight, down the middle, square, tell the truth all the time. But one time, they decide to have a whopper of a lie. And just fabricate this thing and structure it.
You're seeing somebody tell you a story that is the only explanation for certain things that are happening.
Yeah. Especially he tells you a story, and then you have independent people who also used to work for the government now becoming whistleblowers and saying there's a crashed retrieval program. Crashed UFO retrieval program.
It goes back to what I'm saying, Joe. This is how you say this without getting canceled. But you do think they're doing something, don't you?
Doing something. They wouldn't tell us
because
everything
we want to believe like
Yeah.
nobody's doing nothing. Like no, we're doing stuff. Like
They're doing something. They're just not telling.
but that's part of it, though, right?
You know what the people involved in the retrieval call the vehicles? They call them donations.
Right. Well, because
That's what they think they are. They think that the limited times that these crafts have shown themselves.
you as the driver or the occupant didn't mean for that to be your destination, and you don't take anything. You only give. Therefore, that's why it's known as a donation. It's what you would say if one of those meteors that we were talking about, in just the size of a refrigerator, landed in your backyard. Like $1 billion.
Or obliterate an entire city and send everybody back to the Stone Age. That's the wildest one.
Right, but it's not that wild if you look at the moon. The moon shows you the evidence that that's a thing. Right, like
If we could just look at it, it's just filled with holes.
right.
Big fucking craters all over that you can see with the naked eye.
Well, I'm saying most of the people that in America and drive urban settings know what potholes are. And
Yeah. This is a weird time when people are just starting to pay attention to so many of these subjects. So many of these things, like, are we alone? Have there been advanced civilizations before? How did we become us?
it's been a conversation at all points in time. Like,
But more people are having it now without fear of being an idiot.
well, it's because information is now a free commodity, whereas in different points in history, it wasn't like that.
Right. It was protected.
You didn't make enough money to get access to this information. And no matter where you're looking, information is the driving force of almost every war and conflict.
Yeah.
It was about the place that you conquered. Not only did you conquer them, but you got a chance to know what they knew. And that you found was more important than anything else. And that's
Well, think about the people that lived just before they translated the Bible from Latin. How many people couldn't read it?
well, that was part of the experience that you were getting from church, was the fact that that it was being read to you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It not what we have currently, where you have the book and they have the book, but this person is literally reciting God to you.
Yeah. And he becomes the holder of all that information, and the only one.
All holders of all information
Yeah.
are that.
Yep. It's like a human pattern
Mm-hmm.
that people follow, even if they just run an internet company, even if they run a social media company, they follow
Yeah.
that same pattern.
Well, because Everything in the universe, everything on this planet, everything that we could look at in the wildlife or in the plant life, or everything is a formula. Everything is that way. That's when the science and math go together. The occult and alchemy, and all of these things are based on things like even the Smurfs story, right?
The Smurf is based on something?
Well, religious people would say, "Oh, you can't watch the Smurfs because it's bad because they have witchcraft and stuff in there." But the whole thing is it's based on this, the homunculus, the idea that you can create a human life.
Really? That's what the Smurfs are based on?
What two Smurfs do you think
I
got
don't know
together
much about Smurf
and
lore.
had Smurfette? She was the only female of the Smurfs. So,
It's a good question.
well, it's not a question in the Smurfs. They tell you. They tell you that Gargamel made Smurfette. But, in somebody's history, I don't want to say what race of people or group of people it is, but in somebody's history, there was this homunculus thing.
Like a genetically engineered human?
life form.
Life
yeah.
form.
Mhm.
Creature.
Right.
Whoa.
And so, it's spoken of in history very sparingly. But, a lot of things in the world are about perception,
Yeah.
So we don't believe that there's clones. We don't believe that because we don't feel like we have the technology. But the truth is, if you go body part to body part, you'll go, what if I lost 2 legs? Well, we give you 2 legs. Well, what about 2 arms? I can give you 2 arms. Okay, well, what about the heart? Yeah, no problem. What about like, we're already...
Yeah. All you'd have to do is make a clone brain dead. Figure out how to engineer a brain dead clone that'll grow organs for you. And then they'll make cloning legal. Because then you'll never have to worry. Hey, cat, you need a new heart? Guess what?
This is the same pathway that everybody is on in all of these departments. Like, this is what you like. People spend their life trying to find the cure for a cancer.
Yeah.
And working as hard as they can every single day. You know what I mean? Unsuccessfully. Those are the type of people that...
Hey, Mexico. So they did a survey, and 1 in 3 people say they've snooped through their partner's phones. And that's just the ones who admit it. Look, it's only natural to be curious. Who has VPN.com/Rogan?
Yeah, because it's all about information. And we'd be so close most of the time. But that's how you can see what we've had influence from someone else.
I think it's very possible that we have. It's just so frustrating. It's one of those things where life would change forever if you had undeniable contact with something. It would just change forever. Your perception of life, you just to drive through the In-N-Out drive-through would be different. Everything would be different.
Right, but
Taking a shit would be different. There's aliens out there.
You can say that about smelling salts or mushrooms. Say that about lots of things.
Yeah, but about that specifically, if we knew that was real, because I think it's probably true, but I still hold open the possibility that it's all bullshit.
Here's the whole thing. No one who has ever seen more space or the universe than you and I has ever seen anything that was bullshit
What do you mean?
in the universe.
What I mean is like fake UFO footage. There's a lot of fake footage. I would want to see, if you could see something yourself, and I have good friends that have. I have good friends that have had experiences that they say there is no fucking way that is us, but this is something else.
Right. Just understand that part of the job in any of these circumstances is to kick up kerfuffle. Like,
Right.
that's part of it. Like, if you live in Florida, you see how many times things go off into space. The pattern between that and government airplanes. Like, our stories of cooperation have been nothing but cooperative, as they could only be. Like, we don't hold any leverage.
I think some of the shit that we're seeing is not stuff.
Right. I'm saying, but nobody will have a way of, like, as advanced as we are, we still got to let that balloon fly over, right?
Yeah. What the fuck is that? That's the most obvious shit ever. That's your neighbor peeking over the fence.
No, it is not. It is your neighbor's drone
Yeah, your neighbor's drone
in your
hovering
yard.
over your house. Yeah,
Right.
ridiculous.
Right. Filled with a pinata of the next COVID.
Right. I mean, what are they doing? Flying
It's
robots.
not like that. It's not like that. In the world of flying things, sometimes things go off course. You see what I'm saying?
Think that's all it
Especially
was?
spy stuff.
You think that's all it was? It went off course? That it just naturally happened to go near all the military bases?
Don't say magically. Say wind.
Lynn got it?
Well, I'm saying,
Oh, they just flew those things over and they hoped that Biden didn't notice. They said they flew over during Trump's administration too, but they didn't tell him because they didn't want him shooting down.
neither of those stories is true. That information was out there. Right.
Another one, yeah.
So this was a hobby.
Oh.
So this doesn't count. This doesn't count. And the way that you know immediately is it says over Utah. Like, that would be where.
That's right. No, that's the next one. What's up? There's got to be military base in Utah.
Well, I'm saying in the map wise.
Oh, that's what this one is. This is the one from February 2023. That's the one they showed. Look at that. So it's just a balloon with solar power and some kind of camera. How weird.
Nah.
Well, not weird if you just think about human patterns. See what the enemy's up to. Just fly over. Take some pictures. What the fuck is going on with these people?
I'm saying we can say whatever we want, but they're civilized, and maybe they're not civilized. So if you weren't civilized, then maybe part of your job is they're born with it. So you gotta test it out. You gotta see what they can do. They wanna go off course.
But that's not an issue. We have a lot of
Information.
That's true. Yeah.
Just knowing what the conversations are over this wide swath. Because at the end of all these information driven society places is analytics and this
No, it's all right. It'll be fine. I just wonder where it's all headed. 'Cause it seems like they're building building. And I think about it all the time. It seems like it's not.
it's time to get a bunker.
It seems like supply of water.
Well, here's the thing. If you follow what becomes accessible, that's how you can generally see where people are going. So that's the true magicalness of Elon Musk. Just take that guy out of the story. Tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah, he's moving us into so many different directions at the same time.
Because all of these things are connected in these higher echelon conversations. You see the same conversation. Tesla, dementia, information. Call things promotion and marketing. You know what I mean? That's Hollywood is not really there to entertain you. That's great that happens, but propaganda is something that is important to also.
Well, propaganda and Hollywood movies is built into the ingredient list. Like if you want flour, you need wheat. You're gonna have to get the wheat, and if you want to be able to make movies about certain subjects, you have to be willing to work with people. That, it'd be nice if you made it so that this, what we're trying to accomplish, and this is showing the negative side of this other society. This is our hero. This is our hero. He's going to go to America. He's going to go over there. And those movies are successful, so they continue this relationship. Become a bit of a propaganda arm. And in turn, they don't fuck with you.
Right. But that's what makes information so powerful is you don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about just following the ritual work. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear. So like when I be like, oh, these guys are wearing dresses. Everybody's like, oh, he keeps talking about people wearing dresses. No, it's not like that. Look at it from a different way. Look at it. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. That's how you understand what a ritual is. So 20 years ago, I knew that transgenders was going to be a thing. It wasn't because I was a prophet. It was since I had gotten so much information that I understood things are sick. I understood at the earliest I had seen that word transgender was Baphomet, the transgender. And so I knew that in the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ass. Really? And it said both of those things. So I knew that both of those things would become popular in the future. And somehow the goat would be normalized. She being
God damn, you got some good weed, cat. Jesus.
This must be the weed.
Trying to figure out how to jump in on that. I always wondered whether or not all the stories in the Bible, it's just mark of the beast thing that we were talking about earlier, if you got to tell a story for so many years before anybody ever even figured out how to write it down, and you're telling a story about a civilization that allowed people to put money in planes, and all of a sudden the brain were hijacked by machines, people became just meat zombies controlled by corporations. That would be the mark of the beast. That would be a demonic thing. If a demon tricked human beings into wearing a hat that turned you into a zombie, that demon would be like a famous character in books and folklore. But that demon exists, and it's just technology. It just shows itself through this desire for the newest, latest innovations that are going to constantly fuel it becoming more and more powerful. Until one day it tricks you into letting it into its head, like a vampire. Like the vampire stories, you had to let them in, remember? That was the thing. You had to invite them in. And if you invited them in, you're fucked. But if you didn't invite them in, for some reason, they weren't allowed to kill you. It's almost like
Here's
the
the thing.
story.
That you have to be able to benefit from the zombie. Like, there's no benefit in that taken out of context. Like, if you're making them zombies so that they can mine for you, then there's a story of that over there. Like, that's the whole thing. Is when you look at these ancient writings, they're not saying like, so he was from another world, and we had to bring him our kids, and he would eat them in front of us. Like, they're not telling those stories. They're saying like agriculture,
Knowledge,
literature,
cosmology.
right?
Explain the origin of life. Yeah.
Like,
show the double helix DNA.
To a fault.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying anything outside of mathematic parameters.
Well, the wildest stuff is when you look at some of those old Sumerian tablets and you see how they have the solar system. They had the sun in the center, looked just like a sun with little marks around it. It had Venus where it should be, Jupiter where it should be, Uranus where it should be. They were all in the right spots. It's crazy. Like
The Ethiopian
6,000
tribe have the same.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Crazy.
Like, no,
Crazy.
it's not. Yeah, but there is no craziness. Everything lines up. The same grids.
Look at that. That is just nuts, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the conventional explanation for that is, because that Zechariah Sitchin guy who said all this stuff, he was often criticized. People said that he took things too far, and his analysis went too far, and he just went into speculation. But god damn, a lot of the stuff that he was saying, you can see the implication in the actual tablets themselves. They show these gigantic beings with these little tiny people like sitting on their laps, and the people have tails. Have you seen those? It looks like genetic engineering.
Maybe it's a tail, maybe it's piping. What? You understand
Right.
what I'm?
Oh yeah.
What I'm saying is nobody's telling these outlandish.
Right. But they're all kind of all saying the same thing. There's some higher power that comes and gives you structure, tells you what to do and how to live. And every society.
Information. That's what
That's
they
it. They give you information. Yeah.
give. Every story, every civilization,
Yeah.
every time.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. And that's what we're all thirsty for. You know? And what
Well,
people
we're
are
thirsty to monetize.
too. But also humans individually are thirsty for information. We always want information. We want gossip, we want news, we want bullshit, we want science. Especially if you have an appetite for, things that make you think. There's so much information that people are just constantly consuming. There's bullshit information like TikTok and nonsense that just passes you by. But there's still,
But none of that stuff is nonsense.
well, it's not all nonsense. What it is
It's just another
something
offshoot.
to get your attention.
Right.
Yeah.
which is what all of this is about.
Mm-hmm.
From the Roman Colosseums
Yep.
to it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the Roman
King
Colosseums,
Arthur's court time, like
that's the first viral videos, right? Like that.
right, like
They would tell viral stories.
yeah. This is all about this experience of being a human being in this amount of time.
Yeah.
And interaction between other people who are
In the middle of you doing it, you realize you only have a certain amount of time, and you're like, God damn it, I'm just starting to figure this game out.
right. So understand that's I was like 5 years old. So I lucked out because it happened to me so early. But it wasn't about I got that part. So I thought at like that age I was thinking, so I don't know how long because I'm feeling conflicted about how long people live. 100's a good number, but there's been people at 600. I don't know, like things like this. But I'm just gonna space it out 7 years at a time. So every 7 years, that's gonna be a life. So I don't wanna waste it. So I couldn't wait till I got 7 because that was gonna be the start of my first life.
Why'd you break it into 7s? Just randomly?
I don't know randomly. The celibate thing you.
So just 7 seemed like a good number? Instinctual, or was it
To people around the globe.
7? Yeah, that's great. It's a lucky number. That's why I asked.
Yeah, well, I'm saying not for no reason. I'm saying if you like math, you know, I'm saying it's a great number. That's how you know that the pyramids are about something because of what they represent mathematically.
Mm-hmm.
That level of mathematical information is another step in civilization.
Yeah, the idea that was just by accident. Like
Trigonometry is not.
Yeah, that's also that they figured out like there's some measurement. I don't want to bore anybody, but it's the measurements of the height and width and the mass of the pyramid in comparison to the circumference of Earth. It's like they knew so much about like where constellations would be at certain times in the year, like in the summer solstice. It's just wild shit, man. That they did that all in stone.
But not that wild though, because we know that if you that buoys are out there and they're out there for certain reasons. And we understand satellite position. And, no, makes perfect sense. Well, I'm saying it's not different than how we would treat a planet.
No, not at all. Not different at all. I mean,
we would locate where's the best place to land, where is the most hospitable of this place, and we would put something there.
And let's imagine that we landed somewhere and we found this lush, green, vibrant planet, and we found those hobbit people. And those are the most advanced people. Those Homo floriensis, is that what it is? Floriensis. So this creature, this 3-foot tall human. Imagine if we found them. I guarantee you, someone would want to introduce them to tools, introduce them to how to make fire, introduce them to figure out language, try to transfer their language to our language, try to teach them our stuff, try to genetically engineer them and turn them into something different. If we have the tools that we have now, like CRISPR, and we found some primitive apes, and there was like a massive population of Australopithecus on a planet. We said, look, they're on the way. Let's just give them a little boost. Just give them a little boost. That's what the
but
people
not
think.
too much.
Not too much.
And that's what you see with all of the UFO stories is they keep popping up in these times when we as a civilization are getting ready to F it up
Right.
in real time.
In real time. Yeah. You know, that's like my comedy club. That's why I named
The mothership.
rooms. I named the rooms Fat Man and Little Boy.
Oh.
Because the UFO started coming after the big bombs. That's when they really started like ramping up their presence. Like if you look at all the reports, the flying saucer reports, they're all like 1947, 1952.
If you cross-engineer our shit, it's going to show up on our radar. So,
yeah,
this information,
especially when we're using that information very recklessly, wild.
Even in the Bible
cities.
story, the Tower of this story is that, you know, with everybody speaking the same language, it intensifies shit getting done. And they can do stuff that was hazardous.
I think they're very close to being able to translate language instantaneously in real time. Because they can do it right now with Samsung phones. They have the new Galaxy S24.
Animals are doing it worldwide.
Oh, for sure. They have some sort of a language. They have some sort of a communication. There's something going on with animals that's non-verbal.
And with all of and with all of us.
You know Tom Green? You know Tom Green, right? Yeah. Tom Green was here and he has a mule. And he said that you have like a connection with that animal where you know you want to go left and you start like looking left and that thing starts going left. He goes, it's really crazy. It's spooky. He goes, you develop it. It takes time. They have to earn your respect. But once you develop this like loving relationship with this animal, you're tuned into it like an avatar creature. Just like when they would lock on to their dragons. He's like, dude, it's like that.
I have that with women and with ducks and geese and Canadian geese and goats. Like I have, but understand, again, that's part of some religion's story, is that one of the gifts was the relationship between humans and the animals. And it's something that all civilizations have been able to use and has stayed true. You know?
Yeah. It's amazing the relationship humans have with animals.
Yeah,
especially
whether it's a
dogs.
horse. No, there's no especially. Like all of them. We
have their own
abuse
beautiful
some of
thing.
them, and it.
Well, just horses don't interact with people the same way a dog does. That's all I'm saying. It's like the interaction you have with dogs is almost like psychic. Like the dogs are like your little friends, you know. They know when you're in a bad mood. They know when you hurt your foot. You know, they when they're happy to see you every fucking time, bar none.
I have that relationship with everybody. All animals and like special needs people. It's the innocence and the purity that you get. It's not always good. But it's so.
We can learn from them.
No, we have learned.
Yeah, we should learn. But we're scared. We're scared of other people being shitty. And we put up like shields and, you know, we worry about.
Well, it's been proven historically that, you know.
Yeah, it has.
Cain and Abel is a real story. That, like, you know what I mean? Like, people are so violent these days. And that's true. But people have been violent. There was this point where humankind learned that they could take a life and change things. You know?
Especially take a life quickly. Like when they pick up swords and bows. What do you think the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is about? Because I was just reading that last night. Yes? Yeah. That's what took them out? That like plague? Because
this is 69 times I've gotten canceled in this one conversation.
No, the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah, there's two speculations. Right. One of them was that God decided that they weren't hospitable enough. And the other one was God had decided that there was too much sin.
Wait a minute, that's not speculation. That's in the book.
Right.
That first.
Right, but the
What's the second one?
respectability part, that they were not hospitable enough.
Yeah, that was a part of it.
That's part of it too. So God had just decided that I'm gonna fuck up this whole city.
No.
Right. What's the real story?
Okay, so
Turned it into pillars of salt. 2 cities, right? And he said, "Find me 50 good men, and I won't do this." And then I think he said, "Find me 10 good men."
okay, so this story is generally used to say that God doesn't like homosexuals. This is the story that highlights that.
Okay, so it's not just sin. It's not just because sodomy is even technically like oral sex.
The meaning of that word comes from
Sodomy. Right. So that's why I said it's technically it includes a lot of things. Deviant sex. Come back to this sodomy. Come back to this.
I would love that.
Okay. Let's do it. Sodomy.
Yeah. So it tells several stories, but there had to be an explanation for what the story said happened to 2 cities of people, right?
Right. Had to be a reason to tell that story. Most likely.
To tell this story, it requires all of those people to really have been killed in those circumstances. And historical evidence shows us that something like that happened. Those 2 cities really did exist.
Do we know where Sodom and Gomorrah was?
Are you kidding? Pull that information up so fast.
Really?
Put it on the screen.
Young Jane? Like, is there speculation
His
as to what
sidekick is awake now. You can see the best
Carl.
part of him. Carl wakes up.
Carl's awake now. He's 3:30 waker.
Right. As we all would be if we were in charge of our schedules.
Yeah, probably. What do they think that it? Like, is there real speculation as to where it was?
Mm-hmm.
Where do they think?
It's not speculation. A lot of these places just changed names. Like they used to be called this, and then they later were called something else.
Like Iraq used to be Sumer.
Right.
Yeah.
Like these are literal places that you can find on the real map. That was a part of that biblical rabbit hole I was telling you about. It's just seeing.
Hello.
My only concern is, how do these ancient Islamic Judaism, how do you say
Have a good
that?
day.
Those 3 that exist, that all religion is built on, Judeo-Christian, Islamic, that whole belief system of how that operates, right? So you see they have question marks here, right? Only because they know that there were cities there.
So they have wreckage there, or
like for example, if everybody in Gaza talks about going there, it exists. If everybody in Hebron has family members that live there, it exists. If everybody, we know that.
So they think that was right near the Dead Sea. Wow.
Well, they didn't think it any differently than they thought. Like these were places, like people throughout history. If you show any body of water, those are always hotspots. Water is its own commodity and currency at all points, and that was the Dead Sea. But that's everywhere.
Was the Dead Sea always the Dead Sea? Because, goddamn, there's so much interesting stuff that came from that part of the world. That's
Right.
where they found the
But
Dead
a
Sea
lot of
Scrolls.
the stuff that was supposed to be unbelievable was all based on something real. Like, right, how long was it the Dead Sea? Long before they knew what high salt content was.
Right.
Or they might have called it high salt content sea. But what they were trying to say is stuff's not growing here. Okay? Don't come here as a fishing spot. Right?
But it's a good spot to gather salt, which at that point in time was as valuable as anything on earth. Salt, they'd go to war for salt. Salt allowed people to preserve their food. Salt was insanely valuable.
Understand the whole portions because at the end of the day, for all people, it comes down to quality of life. So the jump that was made between people eating food and you had to kill yourself catching hot so that you could get it where you could eat it and eating it like you. That experience to seasoning your food.
Yeah.
Order from the best place.
Eating too much spaghetti so you get fat.
Right. That's part of the greatness of human experience and has been. That's part of being a king or being royalty through all civilizations. Of being able to experience the best culinary things. Because if you believe in God, that's one of the attributes that makes you believe in it. Because every vegetable, let's say, that you would have, when it gets to the point where it will spoil and it will be useless and you have to throw it away, it becomes worth more money.
Because it's compost.
No. So,
What do you mean?
like if you have potatoes, right? And so you have potatoes, but now you got too many potatoes. You could get vodka from it. And if you have too much rice, you could get sake from it. If you got too much barley, everything that you could have too much of, we got too many grapes, you can get wine with that. That's why alcohol is called spirits, because it's literally a gift from God, just something that's just for your milk. Once it's going bad, that's where cheese comes in. Whatever it is, you will be having as a commodity. Grapes to raisins, wherever. This is certain things that are just
So you think there's a reason why
Hello there.
these things exist? Why they're
Goodbye.
all that is connected together so you can discover and figure it out.
unless you can figure out the benefit that a mushroom gets within the special ones, what the special benefit did that frog get from it.
Right. Why is the frog making
Is he living a better life as a frog? Does he live under the effects residually of
constantly carrying around demons? Right. But they secrete it when they're scared, right? You take them and rub them on a windshield.
it's weaponized from the beginning?
Right. They're scared because they think they're going to die, so their body's producing it.
Well,
Just like ours.
the inventor of perfumes and colognes was whoever saw a skunk in action first. Because, that's when you're able to see how powerful smell is, even from a distance. the aerosol, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we've learned so much from that world. That's how we know. Like, we were able to look at animals and insects and understand that we would be able to you know what I mean? Like, we understood because we had seen the hummingbird. You know what I mean? Like, we had seen how things were.
Have you ever seen those Egyptian gliders? They found these gliders, these wooden things that they carved that look like fucking planes, and they were in some of the tombs that they had found thousands of years ago. Looks like a fucking airplane. I mean, straight up looks.
Da Vinci is saying that these are things talked about there. Like, even if you're just following Jesus, right? Okay, so you believe that he was perfect and that this was how he grew up and got it. When it comes to him going to get information, he went to this specific place that we're talking about to get information and to get, and that's not a hidden fact. Like, it's been that way. So, you can't read all of these stories and not see how everything lines up.
It does kind of line up in a strange way. You try to decipher it from all the different cultures. They all have their different versions of it. But at the end of it, there's a lot of similarities. If you follow the stories, like what are they saying?
Right.
All of them have some sort of creation.
Well,
Isn't that odd though? That a creature, if you think of human beings as a creature, that a human being that's never created a being itself has this idea that a magical force that is all-knowing and all-loving created, not they evolved, not they came from this and they learned, they got better, but that they were created. And that seems like a universal story, a created story.
that's only because the duck that's outside of my house right now.
W.
So the duck is sitting on 6 eggs on a nest right by the house, right by a 250-pound dog, alibi, and believes that it has life that is sitting on, and it's going to come from that, and that there's somebody there that is out for them.
W.
In the Bible story,
Best goods in the valley.
the sparrow said, like Jesus said, who feeds the sparrows? Like worldwide, there's how many birds? Like billions and billions and billions of birds. Like, who's feeding them every day? Right. Yeah, because what you're looking for is you need to find a mistake. That's how we would know maybe there's no creator. But we don't go through our regular life seeing things and thinking nobody created it. Like, that would be as weird as us being in this room going, nobody made those curtains, nobody made these cameras, nobody.
See you soon.
Like, what? We never have evidence of that.
What do you think? Why do you think people have a reluctance to take in the idea of a creator? What do you think about it to them? There's some people that fancy themselves as intellectuals and they refuse to take in a concept for which there's no proof. And that's what they'll say. They use this very reductionist view of what God is. And they'll say there's no proof. And that, they're a staunch atheist. And a lot of them, they even talk like religious people. They almost, their atheism becomes a religion. Instead of being completely open-minded to the possibility that you have zero idea what happens when you die.
A lot of people that are atheists don't like God, and God would have to exist for them to not like. So, the whole thing is, if you were To believe in the Big Bang, you would have to believe that that had happened several times throughout history. Just because that's what we've seen from everything that's been created.
We don't see one individual unique thing that exists that's responsible for all. That was a Terrence McKenna always said.
There's too much thought that went into certain things, like the fact that you can study all the butterflies and not one of them has a sense of humor. You know what I mean? But me and you do. And like it goes for all humans. Universally, if we see somebody trip and fall, we all laugh no matter what our back. Like there are certain like there's that I'm trying to think of what the reasons are to not believe, but I can't remember what they are because it doesn't line up with anything. Like and we would have had to have gone in space and there'd be no other planets. Just that's it for this story to make sense universally. Like we're at a terrible time in history to say, oh, we don't believe in people from outer space when we can go to outer space. Like it's almost asinine to try to make both of those make sense. And to think that our sun is not the biggest sun, right? But it's the biggest sun we ever gonna see, right? So it's the biggest fucking sun, right? But the truth is, no, it's way bigger. Like that, a thought went into picking this particular sun or this planet and the moon and the position of much as if you were like the particulars in like Kid Rock to make sure that throughout time put a stamp and a mark on it. Right. Yeah. That's why if you were extraterrestrial, let's say you were going to build one building on it, it would be the pyramid. Like most people don't even understand that there was a whole outer cover on that thing and gold cap at gold the top. Like it was a planetary.
Yeah. You might be right. It makes more sense than the idea that these people pushed those things in the woods and then got them hundreds of miles out of the mountain with ropes.
Throughout history, we have not done things that did not profit us. And not 150 years from now. Now. All through history. So to be thinking that this particular civil, oh, you know what we all care about? When he gonna die. I dedicate my life to when he gonna die. I'm gonna die while I.
Yeah.
History doesn't.
3,200,000 stones. That is so much mass.
All of the wonders of the world are truly that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of them too, man. The wild shit that they're digging out of Turkey is nuts too. That's the Göbekli Tepe place where they found 12,000-year-old structures back at the time when they thought people were just using sticks and stones and hunter-gatherers.
No.
Because
the whole time they were saying that it was there.
Yeah.
But understand, these are the things worthy of a war. Just so you know.
Worthy of a war. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? All throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the only thing a rational person can take from Hitler's story is being able to see what if you had unlimited resource and ability to just follow global rabbit holes. You find out that most stuff that is labeled BS is not BS. BS is very hard to come by.
Well, the Hitler thing is real weird because the Nazis are really into the occult.
At some point in the information process, that was required. So
It was required to be into the occult.
So in like the world of medicine, like certain things, before they had a label of being toxic, you just knew don't touch it. Like, you know, you didn't know what it was good for. But those occultists were the keepers of things that did work, not things that did not work. So, but throughout history, that whole process of thinking anything that could fall into the alchemy conversation was seen as occult based. It meant doing something unnatural. So even like the blacksmith was considered a part of that world through most of history.
Really?
Because he had an unnatural relationship with elements. He was able to take this and turn it into
steel. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. I always wondered the heart of
all processes that are discussed at these pyramids and all, because they're all processes.
I've always wondered if alchemy was trying to recreate lost knowledge. But they did know how to just make metals. They did know how to create elements. They did know how to change lettering code, whatever the fuck they wanted.
That's what this whole line was consistent.
Yeah.
But it required money and time, and all royalty, all kings, all great leaders of the world. This is what you pay for. People that could make things happen. So being able to understand the weather and to then be able to manipulate it in any way possible was valuable all through human history. All the way before we get to the seeding of clouds part.
Do you think they had the ability to manipulate weather back then? It'd be wild if they did. If that's what caused the Sahara